Everyone, today we're going to be talking about order of operations. So order of operations is something, again, that you are going to need as you progress through your math education. Order of operations is a set of rules for completing calculations with one or more operations, parentheses, or exponents. So when they say order, they literally mean order. If you do not complete a problem in the correct order, you will get the wrong answer, which is why it's going to be very important that we memorize this order and complete the steps as following. So I have it written in 3 different ways on how you can remember that order. The first step is just knowing the basic order, which is first starting within parentheses. So if there's a parentheses within a problem, you always do what's inside those parentheses first. That's what the point of the parentheses is just taking your eye to focus on it, saying this is the equation that you need to do first. The next step is to write numbers written with exponents in standard form. So what that means is that we have to solve with exponents. So if it is, for example, 3 squared, then we're going to square them, or 3 times 3, and get 9. So we need to do exponents after parentheses. Step 3 is to do all multiplication and division in order from left to right. So when you're doing a problem, just like when you're reading, you are going to need to do it starting from the left and moving to the right. So if there's both multiplication and division, then you just start with the left and move all the way to the right, just doing the calculations in that order. And finally, it's addition and subtraction from left to right again. So whatever addition, subtraction problems you have in the problem, that should be last. And you should complete them starting with the problem on the left and moving to the right. So there's this cool little acronym that can help you with understanding or remembering what order things have to go in. A very common term is "please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." And the reason why this is something that can be helpful is because the first letter of this term tells you what to do. So P stands for parentheses, E stands for exponents, M and D stand for multiplication and division. And remember, this needs to be completed from left to right. And then A and S stands for addition and subtraction, which also needs to be completed in a problem from left to right. Another term that's very common to use is PEMDAS. So PEMDAS. So again, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. Remember that multiplication and division from left to right, and addition and subtraction from left to right. So that's a lot of, hey, here's the rules. Let's kind of see what they look like in action. Okay, so here's our first example problem, 3 plus 4 times 2 plus 3. So taking a look at this, some people might just automatically want to do 3 plus 4 right away. But we can't do that because we have to use order of operations. So we're going to use multiplication first. Multiplication is the first thing that comes up in our order that is in this particular problem. So we don't have any parentheses, so we can't do that. We don't have any exponents. Next is multiplication and division, and we do have one multiplication problem in here. So I'm just going to bring that 3 and that plus down because I have not used that yet. But I can do the multiplication problem that's in the middle here, which is 4 times 2, and 4 times 2 is equal to 8. Then we have that plus 3 at the end. Again, we have not used that yet. Then I'm going to do my addition problem, again, going from left to right. So again, starting from the start. I don't see any division problems, so I can't do that. I don't see anything else but addition. So I'm going to start with 3 plus 8. 3 plus 8 is 11. Just bringing down that plus 3 because I haven't used that yet. And then I can add my last two together. 11 plus 3 is 14. And I have my final answer. So again, it's very important that we write down the steps in that order so that we can easily see where things go. Notice how I brought down everything I did not use, only to use it later. That just means, like for the example, the 3 plus, I didn't use it in that first equation that I did. So by just writing it again, I'm able to see that I haven't used it yet and I need to use it later. Let's try another problem. Okay, so taking a look at this one, I have 1 plus 2 squared times 5. Again, I'm looking at my order of operations. First is always parentheses. I don't see any parentheses in it. So what I have to do is then do exponents. And look at that, I do have an exponent right here. So my exponent in this particular case is 2 squared. 2 squared means 2 times 2. So I'm going to do that next, or first, I should say, in this particular problem. And 2 times 2 is 4. So again, I took everything I didn't use, which was the 1, the plus, and the times 5, and just brought it down as I was solving 2 squared. If you can mentally do this in your head and know that 2 squared is 4, you don't have to write the step. I just wanted to show you where that 4 came from. Okay, so I did my exponents. My next is my multiplication or division, working from left to right. I only see one multiplication problem, so I'm going to do that first. I'm not using this 1 plus yet, so I just brought it down. And 4 times 5 is going to be 20. Finally, I'm able to do my last steps, which is addition or subtraction. There's only one addition problem, so 1 plus 20 will give me a final answer of 21. Okay. So next example, this one's a little bit more of a doozy. It has a few more operations in it. Again, I'm just going to start with my first order or first part of the order and move my way down. In order of operations, the first step is parentheses. So I am going to complete what's in that parentheses first. Remember, parentheses is just like this big giant spotlight saying, hey, you need to do me first. Everything else, I'm just going to rewrite right underneath so that I know I have to do it later. So I'm not doing anything with 3 squared yet, nothing with that 2. But inside those parentheses, I can solve that by doing 1 plus 3, which is equal to 4. Again, I haven't used that minus 6 yet, so just bring it down. Okay, I've done what's in parentheses. My next step would be exponents. And hey, look at that. I do have some exponents right here. 3 squared does mean 3 times 3. Again, if you can mentally do this step, you do not have to write this line down because 3 times 3 does equal 9. And we still have a 2 times 4 and the minus 6 that we haven't used yet. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is multiplication. So we could have done we did do multiplication when we did 3 times 3. The next multiplication we have to do is 2 times 4. So 2 times 4 is equal to 8. And that leaves us with 9 plus 8 minus 6. And that takes us to the last step of our order of operations, which is addition and subtraction. Now, do not always feel like you need to do addition first, then subtraction. That's why I really emphasize going from left to right. You will get a different answer if you do addition then subtraction every single time. Always go from left to right. So we have 9 plus 8, which is 17. So again, left to right. Now we can do our 17 minus 6, and we are going to get an answer of 11. Order of operations. If you just follow the list every single time, you will make sure you get that correct answer. We do have one more example for you, but I did want to point something out. So kind of keep it in your mind. We've talked about this in our last set of notes, but if you're using distributive property, this should be done after you do the exponent. So distributive property is just like multiplication. So what happens is multiplication doesn't occur until after parentheses and exponents. So that's why we have to wait until then. Here's an example of where you might see something like this. So we have 3 divided by 3 plus 6 times 1 plus 1, all to the square or to the second power. So if we were doing this problem, I would again use my order of operations, and the first thing that I have to do is my parentheses. So I'm going to bring down everything that I haven't used already, or that I'm not using yet, and I'm going to solve what's inside the parentheses, which is 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. And what was in that parentheses is being squared. Great, I did what's inside the parentheses. Now I need to do my exponent. So exponents is not until the end, so I'm just going to rewrite everything I'm not going to use just yet. And this 2 is right on the outside of another 2 that's inside my parentheses. This means that this 2 is being raised to the second power. So that means 2 times 2, which we know that 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Great. Now we're finally able to do that multiplication and division, but we got to remember that we're going from left to right. So on my left, I see 3 divided by 3. So we need to solve that, which is 1. Still bringing down that plus sign because I haven't used it yet. And then we're going to complete this multiplication problem, which is 6 times 4, and 6 times 4 is 24. Finally, we can just finish it off by adding, which is 25. So to kind of recap, that was like a big one. We used practically every step in order of operations. We added the numbers inside the parentheses first, so parentheses first. We then took what was in the parentheses and squared it with our exponent step. Then we started from the left and went to the right and completed a division problem and a multiplication problem. And then finally, we added our numbers together. If you have any questions, please let me know, and good luck with order of operations.